It's in the 90s in this minivan, and that is just way too hot to sleep comfortably. But the good news is we've got a few hours before bedtime, and I'm going to show you in this video everything I do and all the items I use to keep it cool in here at night and help me sleep comfortably even in the summer. There's three strategies for keeping the minivan cool in summer weather. You won't always have full control over all three, but you'll always want to keep them in consideration. It was blazing hot in here earlier because I did all the wrong things. I left the minivan parked out in full sunlight all afternoon. Of course it got hot in here, which brings us to our first strategy, minimizing heat buildup during the day. If there's a nice shady tree, park there, and that'll keep the vehicle cooler. We've also got these sunshades. I've got one for every window. I'm going to set them up now so you see how it works. I'm not entirely happy with these WeatherTech brand sunshades. I'll explain why in a moment, but for now, let's start with the positives. I bought the full kit for my 23 Honda Odyssey. They don't require any mounting clips or Velcro, and overall, they're quick and easy to install. I use these sunshades for three purposes. I set them up during the day to help reduce heat buildup in the minivan. Depending on the sun conditions, I'll decide which shades to set up. I'll always cover the windshield, and sometimes, like today, I'll cover each of the 8 windows. They're effective at reducing the heat buildup. Of course, if you park in the full sun on a hot day, you can't expect perfection. I also use the sunshades to keep the vehicle dark inside, especially in the morning when the sun rises early while I'm still trying to sleep. And lastly, I sometimes use them to help with privacy inside the minivan. Now I'll explain my disappointment. WeatherTech says they custom fit these sunshades for each vehicle make, model, and year. Given the cost and their claim that they're custom fit for my vehicle, I was expecting more complete coverage. Look at the gaps and how much light gets through. I have some other complaints, but I'll leave those for an upcoming video where I'll do a full review. Moving on to our next strategy for keeping cool, camping location. Try to camp in a location where it will cool off at night. That's exactly what we did on this trip. We drove about an hour from our home up into the Colorado Rockies where it's always about 20 degrees cooler and absolutely will be very cool at night. Because we use our minivan for extended camping trips and road trips, we always take camping location into consideration when we're planning our itinerary. I love Phoenix, Arizona, but I'm not going to go camping there in the middle of the summer. Of course, you won't always have full control over where you camp, and you can't control the weather, which brings us to our next strategy and probably the most interesting part. All the different items I use to help me ventilate the van and keep things cool. I can just roll down windows if there's no bugs, but most of the time I use mesh screens to allow airflow without letting the bugs in. Ventilation is important for 2 reasons. It lets cool air inside the minivan, and it reduces condensation from forming inside. Nobody wants to sleep in a moist minivan. I always start with attaching these skeeter beater window screens on the sliding door windows. They have magnets sewn into the mesh that adhere to the metal around the window without scratching the vehicle. Depending on the temperature, I might stop right here and call it good. But if it's going to be on the warmer side, I'll keep rolling down windows and adding screens to maximize ventilation. These front window screens don't use magnets, they just slip right on. Now might be a good time to mention I've got links in the description to all the items I use in my minivan camper. It's a great way to support the channel at no cost to you. One of the most common questions I get about keeping cool sleeping in the minivan is why not run the air conditioner? I need to run the engine if I want air conditioning. I don't want to run the engine when I'm trying to sleep, and I'm often staying in campgrounds, and I'm sure my neighbors don't appreciate me running the engine all night either. I really like the sunroof mesh screen. Just a reminder, make sure you remove all the screens before you start driving. I can't believe how many Amazon reviews on this sunroof screen mention it flew off while they were driving. What were they thinking? This rechargeable fan can be clipped on almost anywhere. It's got several speeds, and as you can see by these bubbles, it creates a nice breeze. As I set up the tailgate net, I'll address the next most common question. What about privacy? It's true that when I'm using the mesh screens, I don't have a lot of privacy, but I'm not stealth camping. I stay in campgrounds, just like I did for many years in a regular tent, which didn't have much privacy either. I just set up the sunshades when I need some privacy and take them down when I want ventilation. Back to the tailgate mesh in progress. This screen uses a combination of magnets and Velcro to attach to the tailgate. It also provides a terrific view out the back of the minivan, which comes in handy in campgrounds like this one with views of the mountains. And the final question, what if it rains? Well, I can't have the windows wide open in the rain, but the good news is rain usually brings cooler weather, so I need less ventilation. I have these WeatherTech window guards, which allow me to roll four of the windows down a few inches to keep some air flowing. Of course, even with these strategies, it's not always possible to keep the minivan perfectly cool at night, but that's part of the fun of camping. You make the best of it. Click here if you want to see how I quickly convert my minivan from an everyday driver to a comfortable camper. And watch this one if you want to see how I convert from a one person to two person sleeper.